Kia ora. Approximately 2 months ago, I decided to add CO2 to my 215 litre or 57 gallon aquarium. And at that time I did a video on its installation. Now 2 months later, I thought it's time just to put some comments together, and essentially I'm somewhat disappointed with the results and question whether or not CO2 is worth the expense. As a side note, the price of CO2 has more than tripled in the past month. This is because there are 2 plants producing it in New Zealand. One closed permanently last year and the other developed production faults which created a shortage. Our beer drinkers are not a happy lot at the moment. On the screen we've got 2 photos of the same general area of the tank. The one on the right is present day, and the one on the left is 2 months earlier. These were actually taken with different cameras from memory, hence the large variation in the actual colours. So we've gone back 2 months. And you'll note that here we've got a little bit of cyanobacteria and it's purling or giving off oxygen. 2 months later it's still doing that, and it's spread and also moved into the rock on the right, and once again it's giving off oxygen. Let's go back a little bit further. Let's go back, say, 2.3 billion years, because science is now telling us that 2.3 billion years ago, cyanobacteria or cyanobacteria played an important role in oxygenating the Earth's atmosphere. So I'm really quite happy for this stuff to keep on giving off oxygen, even though it's 2.3 billion years later. So let's just have a look at a couple of the plants. First of all, in this area here we've got some Thai sword plants. I think there's just the one from memory. I think this one here was in a different plant. So it's got a little bit of colour, a little bit of red, nothing to write home about. But if we go to present day, definitely the colours there, and I have no doubt that that is the CO2 that is producing that brilliant colour, even though it's got 2 months more growth on it. And if we look at the crypts, they look quite healthy. I must admit I've had a pleco, a bristlenose, cleaning off the algae, but these plants do look nice. They've got a nice shine to them. Jump back 2 months earlier. Well, they're okay, they're growing, but don't really have the same vigour that they have present day. And once again, I think this is due to the CO2. And the stem plants that I've got are low light type, and they will grow very fast even without the CO2. The hygrophila here really took off, and if you're going to have CO2, be prepared for lots of pruning. In the back, the Rutala just didn't really develop any red tinge to it. I was hoping that it would, but therein lies the problem. I'm only using the stock light that came with the tank. And I think if you're going to use CO2, you need to invest in a decent light, one with a high intensity to bring out the colours of your plants. When I turned on the CO2, I had this area as a grow out for some cuttings, and here I've got some hydrocotyle that I'd pulled from the grass and I was growing as an experiment, and then growing nicely some shoots of Alternatharia renicky or scarlet temple from the local stream, and also glossostigma from the same stream, as well as hair grass and other bits and pieces. I was hoping that the CO2 would give them a head start over algae and diatoms, but I didn't allow for something much worse. And along came pleco. Go! Who systematically ate all my scarlet temple and any other tender shoots it could get its mouth on. All things considered, CO2 was not worth the expense for this setup. Sure, I could change the light and get a better selection of plants, and that would then give me a pretty stunning display, but unfortunately a decent light costs money and that's not in my budget. So what to do? Now I've got all the CO2 gear, so I should make use of it. And that really means optimizing the layout of the tank to best display plants. Currently the landscaping is around rocky outcrops. These take up quite a bit of swimming space, and I could better utilise that area with selected plantings. So it's really time to re-landscape that whole tank, and that's something I'm going to do very shortly, and I'll put out a video to cover that process. So hopefully I'll catch up with you then. Ka kite anō.